Welcome to today's Work Truck webinar, How to Upfit Pickups for Productivity and Profit, presented by Adrian Steele. I'm Shelly Mika, a contributing writer for Work Truck, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. We encourage you to ask questions during the webinar, and we will try to address them all during the Q&A session, but if we don't get to yours, rest assured you'll be contacted by email afterward with a response. Today, I am joined by three highly knowledgeable speakers from Adrian Steele. Adam Gregory, sales engineering manager, Mark Henry, senior innovation prototype engineer, and Ryan Lavka, safety director. Adam, Mark, and Ryan, welcome to the Work Truck webinar. Let's just get started by telling us a little bit about your background and your experiences with work truck fleets. Adam, how about we start with you?
Okay. Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are in the United States or Canada. My name is Adam Gregory. I'm the sales engineering manager here at Adrian Steele Company. I've been with the company 21 years. I started out installing vans in our prototype area back in like 2003. It seems like a really long time ago. From there, I moved into working with fleets around the 2005 timeframe. And from then on, I've just been working with fleets ever since then.
Great, thanks. Mark, tell us a little bit about your role in fleet experiences.
Well, Mark Henry. I have actually been with Adrian Steele for going on 30 years now. I actually started on our shop floor, worked my way through there into the engineering area, started out as a prototype engineer. Now I've moved into the senior innovation role. So in my role, I deal a lot with our customers, a lot of face-to-face, learning what they actually do and try to design product to, to serve and, fix a need or yeah. So just to create product that's needed in the market. I guess that's what I'm really trying to say.
Yeah, and that's perfect for today's topic because we're going to be going through some of the challenges that pickup owners face with upfitting and solutions for each of those. So I see why we have you here. Ryan, if you could let us know a little bit about your experience.
Sure. So I've been with Adrian Steele for 3.5 years. Prior to that, I've got about 14 years health, safety, and ergonomics experience. So what I get to do here is take the really brilliant things that our engineering team that Mark and Adam come up with and kind of hold them to an ergonomics litmus test to make sure that they're going to be safe for the individuals that are going to be using the products in the field.
That's great. So a lot of experience in the room today. Thank you so much for joining us. And let's get started. All right. So if you're in the audience today, there's probably a few different reasons why you might be here. If you're already operating a pickup truck fleet, you're probably going to be familiar with a lot of the challenges we're talking about today. And rest assured, we'll be talking about solutions as well. Others of you might be going through the transition from vans to trucks. I know a lot of people are making that transition as their vans are being phased out. And sometimes also, it's by choice that you might be transitioning to a pickup, whether that's, to be able to take it off-road or to navigate city streets in a way that vans can't, or better fuel economy, reducing emissions. There's a lot of pros to transitioning to pickups as well. So whether you're exploring your options or you're already locked in with pickup trucks, I think the goal today really is for you to walk away with solutions to some of the problems you may already be facing or know what to anticipate. So to the panel, are these trends that you're seeing with Adrian Steele customers?
Yeah, very much so. We've seen quite a few fleets migrate from smaller vans and even full-size vans to truck upfits. We're seeing a lot of them go to, some of them are going to a smaller compact truck, and some are just going to, like an F-150 or Silverado 1500. Some of the bigger trucks, like the Super Duty 8-foots, are there, but they're rarer. It seems like on our fleet side. But yeah, a lot of them have been investigating going from vans to trucks. I think one of the big reasons is, and I worked at an HVAC company before I went to Adrian Steel. I didn't mention that. Driving a cargo van may not be as nice as driving a truck. We're all used to driving trucks. Those are very consumer used as opposed to a cargo van. So yeah, we're seeing lots of fleets flip over to trucks.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so let's take a quick look at some of the challenges we're going to talk through today. If you're new to pickups, probably your biggest concern is, can I fit all of my things into a pickup truck when I'm transitioning from a van? And yeah, that might be hard to imagine, but I know Adrian Steel has lots of solutions for that. Some of the other things that we're going to talk about today are long lead times that affect, productivity, downtime, ultimately impacts profit, theft. We see sometimes that toppers get broken into and you have a lot of valuable goods inside of your pickup that you absolutely do not want to have to pay to replace. There's also some design issues that, Ryan, I'm sure we're going to talk about that, just affect ergonomics and injuries, damage to toppers, and like I said, yeah, operator injuries. So what I really want to ask the panel is, so kind of what are the impacts of these channels or challenges for work truck fleets? Like from a bird's eye view, what does it mean when they're dealing with these challenges?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges going from vans to trucks is you're going from, let's say, a full-size van that might have 102 inches of 102-inch long space by 51 tall of product that can go inside of the van, and you're trying to put that inside of your 6.5-foot bed now. So you're going from maybe 300 cubic feet to roughly 70 cubic feet with a top on there. So the real challenge that fleets have is trying to challenge their technicians to put in the truck what they absolutely need, not what they want. It's what they need to do their job. I think Mark mentioned that earlier. We're designing for what they need, not necessarily what they want. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges is that you're going to see is, how can I fit this much stuff into this bed of the truck? And that it's a challenge for technicians to not just be like, well, I'm carrying this product just in case. Well, yeah, just in case. Well, how often have you used it? Well, I haven't used it in years. Okay, well then you really don't need that in your truck.
Is that something that you guys walk through with your customers? Sort of, how do you use this? How do we do an analysis of what you really need in your pickup truck?
Yeah, we've done many site visits where we'll take a truck with us with a cap on it, and we will unload their van and put inside of the truck, hey, what do you absolutely need, and find a spot for everything. That's where Mark comes into play there. You're like, hey, we might bring a truck and say, hey, we need this new product that's going to hold this part. That's where Mark comes into play there.
And I would imagine that, when you have some of these challenges, this is going to take vehicles and drivers out of service. This is going to increase downtime, potentially injuries, increase costs, reduce profits. So there can be some big impacts to like a business if you're not addressing these challenges in advance. Would that be safe to assume?
Yep. You can look at your fleet vehicle. It's a revenue maker. So if it's not making money, it's not doing its job. So anytime that it's down or there's a part that's not working, it's revenue for your business that's not being procured.
Right. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into our first challenge. So like I said, we're going to be talking about challenges that affect productivity and profits and how to resolve those. So kind of like you were just saying, Adam, when a truck is out of commission, your productivity takes a hit. And the same is true for drivers. If your driver is out of commission, you don't have anyone to operate that vehicle either. So, if a driver gets injured, then there's real impacts to your business and to serving your customers. And so it's really important to keep drivers safe when they're out on the road and when they're accessing their tools and equipment. If that's not working right in your pickup truck, then, it can cause injuries. So, Ryan, I feel like this is a great question for you. I know Adrian Steele has done a lot of work thinking about ergonomics. Tell us why ergonomic designs are important and maybe some of the hidden costs of injuries and what happens if an injury does occur.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason that ergonomics are important is we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to accommodate a kind of a neutral body posture for the employee, right? And anybody that has used a truck bed to haul anything at some point, it happens to me. I feel like every time I get groceries, right? Eventually the things that you have to unload wind up all the way in the front of the truck, and then you're standing at the tailgate trying to figure out how to get that stuff out. I have the luxury of having a couple kids that I can jump in the back of the truck and they get all that stuff for me. Not so much on the work site, right? So
yeah,
without a good solution, that's where we leave our employees, is looking for a means to access the things that they can't easily reach standing outside the truck. So then we get into where we induce risk. So things that are non-standard or non-routine. You frequently will see people that will come up with clever and innovative ways to try to reach things that they can't slide out to them. So we get people that stand on the tire of the vehicle, which is it's bad practice for a lot of reasons. And like you can see on the slide here, you could be looking at $40,000 just in a work comp claim for a back injury. That doesn't include having to have that individual out of work for an extended period of time. You may have to bring new talent in. You might have to train replacements. Might have to be a new person for a route. There's a lot of hidden cost that comes along with a serious injury. So the advantage, right, is with that slide out, 110% extension is huge. You can bring everything out of the truck, and it's easily accessible on all sides. And without a good upfit like these guys are creating, you just don't have that. Puts your employee at a lot of risk for a serious injury.
Yeah, Mark, and I imagine this is something that you were thinking about as the extendo bed was being designed. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but what that does is it's a slide out bed and it goes 110% past the taillights. And so that just makes it easier to bring all of the tools and equipment to you rather than reaching in and risking an injury.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what Ryan's saying. It's like, if you don't have to reach inside that vehicle, everything will be brought and presented to you. The extendo bed is a huge part of the integrated solution, with all the shelving, the tank racks, everything that's actually mounted on that. It will actually be pulled out right to the operator, so he doesn't have to put himself into an awkward movement to get his equipment and his consumables. Same thing with the side toolboxes. You open the door, everything's presented right to you, very easy to reach. Those are the kind of things that we're thinking about as we're designing product. It's not. A lot of it is just, how do we do it efficiently and as safe as possible for that technician.
Right. And I think mentioning efficiency takes us to our next challenge, which is, when you have difficulty accessing tools and equipment, that's time that starts to add up. So beyond keeping technicians safe, having easy access to tools and equipment can really save time, and that can help you get more jobs in a day. So tell us about how, Adam, I think this would be a good one for you. How does upfitting make drivers more efficient? And maybe one of you can also just talk about, if they are having this easy access, then what are the benefits of investing in something like that?
Yeah, we've done quite a few, I'll call them studies, on how to make the technician more efficient. So you can equate a lot of things to jobs. So if a driver is not spending 20 minutes a job to look for a tool or consumable that, it may be in the back of the truck or something like that. Every day that those 20 minutes add up to another job. So whatever you make on a job, let's say you make, $2,000 on a job, a plumbing job, if you can get another job or two jobs because the driver knows exactly where his product is and he can reach it very easily, and cut down on that wasted time, that's more revenue in your pocket. That's really how we look at it, is more revenue in the pocket. So when Mark talks about having things come out to you, they're not sitting there trying to, I have a hockey stick in the back of my truck when I'm trying to like rifle through and try to find things. That's not efficient at all. So the extendo bed coming out and, hey, my tank's right there, my 30-pound tank's right here, I just grab and go, something like that it'll benefit you in the long run as far as revenue wise.
For sure.
And
Mark,
and
can you give us
honestly,
maybe some examples of that? What's an example of, like, give us maybe a before and after of a pickup truck or a technician that's having trouble accessing something, and then how that changes specifically with the right upfit.
yeah, I mean, there's a couple things here, and actually Adam hit that pretty good with his hockey stick analogy. You see that a lot. People use hockey sticks. We've seen golf clubs where things slide to the front of the truck and they can't reach in there. They use a tool or something just to reach in there and pull it to them. And you just don't have that with a slide out. You can bring that to you, but also, I mean, we're not just designing the product to put on that slide out. We're actually looking a lot at what that product is. We talk to the customers and the technicians and say, what do you use the most every single day? And we actually try to place that product in that upfit, so you don't even have to pull the slide out. You can access it from the toolbox. You can access it just by opening the rear gate. It just cuts down time. Like Adam said, the more time you can save, the more jobs you can get during the day. And if I don't have to pull my slide out to get to something I use every single day, that's just more time saved during the day. Your lower run things, your bigger items, yes, we will pull that slide out, make it easy to get to. But the things that are used very, very frequently, your tool bags, cords, hoses, things that are just really quick, just grab and go items, we try to keep them toward the doors just to try to save that time.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Anything else on ease of access before we move on that you guys want to address? I really love your graphics here showing sort of the alignment of the spine. I know on the previous slide we showed someone bending over and risking that injury. So I think it's really clear here that you fixed that problem, right?
Yeah, this is a third-party software that we use from a company called Velocity EHS. So it uses artificial intelligence to analyze body positioning during work tasks. So we love to use this when we're vetting out new processes, new equipment, new products, both for manufacturing and for our customers. So it's a really good tool to be able to visually represent the stress and strain that a body might, or in this case, might not see.
Yeah, right. Okay. So continuing on upfitting for productivity, I know that I would assume most pickup owners, especially if you're new to this, you might not know exactly what all you're going to need right when you're ordering your upfit and your pickup truck. And, that can be problematic because businesses change all the time, and you might add a service that requires something different from your pickup truck. You might need to pass a unit onto a different driver that has a different job or provides different services. And so kind of getting locked into what you order right away can be problematic. So tell us a little bit about, what happens when you can't add on features later, like a ladder rack or a toolbox?
Yeah, so this part of it was really listening to our customers, listening to our distribution network, and learning what those pain points were. It's quite often, like you said, that somebody would go in and actually order a topper of sorts and not realize that they ordered a top that wasn't compatible with a ladder rack, or they ordered the wrong configuration of a toolbox, or hey, I wanted 2 toolboxes instead of 1. So when we were in the design phase, we really wanted to make sure that we could add on toolboxes or ladder racks or everything as you go, so you can the customer can come in and just buy just the topper. Later on down the road, say, man, I think really I should have ordered a toolbox or maybe 2. Those things can be added on. Everything's a bolt-in feature. The same thing with the ladder rack. The tops are standard set up for the ladder racks. So we have multiple different ladder racks that can be installed on our toppers, just to suit whatever the need is of that customer.
And what
Hopefully
does that
answers.
mean in terms of, cost? So I know on the slide, we see a whole topper might cost $3,000 to $4,000, but a toolbox alone is $400 to $500. So if you don't have, availability of a modular design that allows you to add on as needed, talk to me about how that can really impact your costs. And I'm assuming there's downstream effects for downtime as well.
Absolutely. If you fail to order your top correctly, you're basically going to start over and reorder another top. So whatever that lead time was to get that top, you just doubled it again, because we just don't add those things on. Same thing with the ladder racks. If they're not ordered to be used with a ladder rack, you're going to pay again, and your lead time is going to extend again. And all the time that these vehicles aren't in service, these vehicles aren't making money. So that's all costs that could be avoided with something with a more modular design that allows you to add on these options.
Yeah, that's a perfect. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mark hit it on the head when we were talking about, or he was talking about, listening to our customers. We have many fleets where, the jobs are switching every day. They might have a driver that strictly does installs, and they might have to do service work. So having the modular design allows that driver or technician to be like, well, for installs, I didn't need a toolbox, but now I'm doing both jobs. I can put a toolbox on the one side for those small service parts. It's the modular idea has gone a long way for fleets. They're seeing a lot of labor shortages, especially in the HVAC plumbing area. So that's when they're seeing their drivers that normally would do one job, like an install or service, and now they're combining them. So they have to have that modularity.
And you were talking about lead times, which takes us to our next slide. Lead times for toppers can be just crazy. I think we were talking about how the average lead time is about 8 weeks, but it can be up to 20 weeks. A lot of times because, if you're getting different components and you're sourcing them from multiple manufacturers, that's adding up a lot of time. Mark, Adam, I feel like you could tell us a little bit more about how long these lead times really are, and also how that ultimately affects profits. Because this is like maybe the number one issue that I've heard fleet managers talk about is these lead times are astronomical.
Yeah, you're exactly right. This is definitely one of the things that we heard loud and clear. When we decided to get into this industry, we needed to make sure that we were going to be able to do this and design this product to be able to ship in the industry leading 5 days. Put your order in, and 5 days later, your product will ship. And that's been a huge part of the success that we're seeing so far. The faster we can ship it out, the faster we get that vehicle into service and making money.
So how are you able to do that? I mean, if we're looking at an average of 8 weeks compared to 5 days, that's just wild to me. How are you making that happen?
It's magic. Our production team is probably one of the finest in the world. With the lean manufacturing processes we have in place, our production team is phenomenal out there. And with the design side of it, we tried to design things so a lot of similarity. When you start scaling from different platforms, different tops, a lot of the parts interchange with each other. So that's actually helped streamline some of the manufacturing and some of the assembly. So not only do we listen to our customers, we also listen to our manufacturing. So we try to do what we can do to help that side of the business also. As they come back for improvement, hey, we can do something a little faster if you make these changes. We listen. We try to help them and try to make things as smooth as possible for our manufacturing side, to try to keep those lead times as low as possible. We want to still be the leader in lead time.
And Adam, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your ship through process. When people are working with Adrian Steel, you guys are kind of doing it all instead of juggling, vehicles going to multiple manufacturers. Am I right about that?
Yep. Yeah. Everything's done at our ship through locations. Once the vehicle arrives at our facility and our install team schedules it, it'll be upfit within 10 to 15 days. And having the topper be a 5-day lead time greatly excels that timing.
And we're talking about, you're even designing toppers for graphics installation. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Going back to the revenue stream of the vehicle, it's marketing, right? It's the graphics on the outside of your cap and your truck. So all of the design features of the top went into thinking about how do we show off the marketing or the graphics of the customers.
Right. And gosh, just thinking about 5 days compared to 8 weeks or longer, I mean, that really can make a difference with profits. So again, we're talking about a major difference in downtime, right? Like, can you share any examples of how you've seen that difference pay off for customers, or why this is really so important for fleet managers and business owners?
Yeah. A couple examples are, we've had, these trucks are on the road with everybody else. They might get into an accident that, God forbid, totals the truck. So to get that driver back to where he needs to go or she needs to go, they might get a truck off the dealer's lot. So that truck's ready to go, except for the upfitting. So that's where the 5-day lead time comes into play. Is, hey, once they procure the truck, 5 days, we can have a top shipped to our distributor. They can build it, install it, and that truck's already back getting that revenue stream going again.
And I imagine, as fleets are waiting for these pickups to arrive and they're experiencing these long lead times, that could also mean they're kind of doing a stopgap measure to still help their drivers be functional, but they don't have the right upfit to do it. And so now we're back to talking about injuries and all of those hidden costs if you're not providing an ergonomic design too.
Yeah. A lot of them will just use rentals until their vehicle's ready to go. So that rental fee starts adding up, and then they might have a vehicle that is not really conducive to what the driver needs. It might be an SUV, so they can't get anything in the vehicle, or it might be a van without a partition. So things are just fallen over in the back of the van. So there's gives and takes with the rental vehicles as a stopgap.
Yeah. Yeah. On that rental cost alone, I mean, 5 days compared to 8 weeks, that's a lot of money.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's move on to reducing downtime. So another thing that happens is, so let's say you wait these 8 weeks to get your topper, and then, sometime later, maybe there's a hailstorm, maybe you're in a crash and the topper gets damaged. So you're basically starting over at the beginning, right, of this lead time. If you have to replace your entire topper. Am I right about that? And have you seen this happen with some work truck fleets?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. We've seen a lot of damage, hail things, where the hail would dent the roofs, dent the doors, and they're not repairable. With the modular design, whatever panel's damaged, whether it be hail, dented, was in an accident, you only have to replace just a portion of the top that's damaged. Everything can be unbolted, put the new parts on, and get them right back into service. And that comes at a huge cost savings for that customer, because you're only replacing the parts that are damaged. You're not having to replace that whole top. That's something that, once again, listening to our customers, listening to our distributors, it was very, very important to them. So,
and tell me, you have a different storage process for your toppers compared to other topper manufacturers. And as I understand it, that reduces the lead time too. Can you tell me more about that? So instead of storing them outdoors where they can get damaged before they even arrive to a customer, you guys are storing them indoors, and this modular design actually lets you do that. Tell me more about the strategy there.
Yeah, so with this modular design, a lot of these parts being interchangeable, we ship them in five different boxes. A lot of these components are the same between different truck manufacturers. So what that allows us to do is some of our distributors and things can actually stock that on their shelves. So they can actually have stock of these toppers that will fit multiple different vehicles with minimal amount of inventory. And with them being safely inside, they're on shelves, they're in boxes, they're very, very unlikely they're going to have any damage. And what that also does for them is, being on their shelf, it could actually be less than 5 days. I mean, if that distributor has time, he could do it next day if it works into their schedule. That part's been huge, to allow that distributor to actually have that on hand and being able to serve that customer that quickly. It's been huge. The same thing with any kind of replacement part. They may have that right there on their shelf. Just get them right back on the road.
Yeah, that's a game changer. I mean, even looking at the downtime calculation that we have on the slide, I mean, gosh, missed revenue can add up so quickly. And to think that, a truck topper is the reason why you might miss that revenue is painful, right?
Right.
Yeah. And speaking of toppers, so another issue that we see among work truck fleets is that they can be really easy to break into. And so, thieves are going to do anything they can to get into these things because there's so much valuable equipment inside. And that's obviously devastating to fleets. In terms of downtime, inability to serve customers, replacement costs for tools, equipment, consumables. Have you seen instances of security breaches, and what have you guys done to design for this?
Yeah, there's definitely that definitely is a problem. with truck toppers and things. And that's when we looked at the design, we looked at how people were breaking into things. So the way our doors and our door frames are designed, they are inset, so it makes it a little bit harder to get pry bars and things behind them. And when you do get in behind them, the way the door frame itself, it makes it very, very hard to pry that door open. And the materials that we're using, I mean, we're using a combination of an 080 aluminum for the skins and up to an 1/8 of an inch material for a lot of the door frames. So we are in a lot of cases, we're almost double the thickness of majority of our competitors out there.
Wow.
Which that also makes it very hard for the material to be dented and be damaged also. So not only is it for that, it makes it hard to break into, it also makes it hard to actually damage the top as well. So
that's a win-win.
yes.
No more.
Yeah, and speaking personally on it, you know, we're south of Detroit. My brother, he's an electrical contractor in Detroit, and while he was doing work, he had his van broken into, just thousands of dollars of tools and consumables out of his van. Took him out for, you know, a day and a half because he had to go find the tools that were stolen. Some of them he got back, but some of them he had to rebuy at the local Home Depot or anything. So saving the tools was a big deal for us when we were designing the top.
Yeah. It just makes me sick thinking about, you know, realizing somebody's broken into your topper and all your stuff's gone. And now what are you going to do? You know, so having a secure topper really protects the contents of your truck bed and also the downtime associated with replacing everything, to your point.
Yeah, it almost acts as a deterrent too. Like it's a beefier looking top, so maybe, you know, they'll be less likely to try to break into that one and go for another one. I mean, it's a robust design for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's it for our formal presentation. Before we move into the Q&A, anything that the panel wants to add that you maybe thought about as we were talking?
No, not really. I mean, you know, again, these vehicles, van or truck, they're revenue streams for fleet managers and local fleets. So, like Mark was saying earlier, we try to get with the technician, try to see what we can do to help them to make them more efficient, and also can make these things revenue streams for the fleets.
Yeah, it seems you take such a thoughtful approach to the design of this. So, and in terms of just, you know, protecting the driver and making sure that you're just really reducing that downtime as much as possible. And you can tell you take a very thoughtful approach to that. So kudos to you all. All right, well, let's move into the Q&A and see what questions people have been asking as we've been talking through this. Mark, I think this one's for you. How long does it take to install this equipment?
As far as just the topper itself, or like full integrated solution, I mean,
Let's talk
the
about
topper
both.
itself, yeah, the topper itself, I believe we're about an hour and a half is kind of where we're saying. I've done it myself.
Oh, wow.
I mean, just by myself. You do have to have a second set of hands to put it on the truck, but to assemble it yourself, an hour and a half is not a problem. No problem at all. To do the integrated solution, you're a few hours. I mean, it takes a few hours to do that. There's quite a few components to that. And depending on, you know, what that upfit is, I mean, there could be some electrical also if you got lighting, things. I mean, you could spend a few hours to do this. Just really depends on the level of the install that you're doing. It's very, very easy. It goes together really easy.
And that actually, when you mention, electrics, one of the other questions we got here that I think you can answer, Mark, is do you have electric locks available for the toppers?
Yes, actually, we are just rolling out an e-lock, so it actually is the same exact compression latch that you see on all of our toppers, with an electronic key fob option. So it will actually use your OEM key fob to lock and unlock your topper.
Oh, that's cool. One less thing to carry around.
Yep, one less thing to lose.
Yeah, right. Or replace also.
Exactly.
We're also getting a question about, are the toppers waterproof? Have you designed for that challenge?
Yes. So our toppers actually went through some very, very rigorous water testing. We do have a patented water ditch that goes around our door frames, that actually any water that does get in behind our door seals actually will be channeled out the sides and out the bottom. They don't actually go into the topper itself. The same thing with the seals. We spent a lot of time with the seals to the bed rails, seals to the bulkheads, lots and lots of car washes and high-powered washes. Just make sure that this thing is sealed up tightly.
Yeah, you don't want water getting in there and causing rust issues or damaging things, right? So that seems very important to me.
Yep.
Adam, here's one for you. Do electric vehicles have the same options for upfits?
Yeah, we have done quite a few electric trucks for some fleets. Top-wise, they both mount the same. The extendo bed, we've actually come up with a no drill mount for those, so we're not drilling into the bed, because the OEM battery is underneath the bed of the truck. So to keep our installers safe, keep everyone safe, we tie into the OEM mounts that are already on the bed, and then that will hold down the extendo bed. So we're right now, I think it's for like the Ford Lightning, the Maverick, any of the hybrid models too, they all get no drill mounts, which also can be transferred over to the ICE trucks as well, because less holes in the bed means more resale value on the back end.
I'm so glad you said that. I was just going to ask, if you're, remarketing this vehicle, that has to help, not having all the holes. It's a more attractive vehicle when you remarket it.
Yeah, especially if it goes to auction, it's just going to somebody that's not using it for a work truck. They just want it for their their weekender truck or something like that. When there's no holes in the bed of the truck, it goes a long way.
So something else I'd actually like to add about the install. We've had a lot of questions about why don't we clamp the topper to the truck. A lot of other manufacturers use clamps, and we actually drill and through bolt our topper to the truck.
Okay.
That is actually due to the rigorous testing that this topper has gone through. We've done 4-post shaker table like the OEMs do. We've done vibration testing with a bed with 500 pounds mounted on the roof of the topper, and we found throughout that testing the clamps themselves don't provide enough security to hold that top into place. And we made the decision to bolt the top to the truck, just so everything is safe. With that amount of weight that the topper is able to carry, we just want to make sure that thing is secure, and not have this thing come off, carry that amount of weight down the road. So
makes sense. Another question we have here: since you have multiple manufacturers, how do you develop frameworks of a one-stop shop concept to lower the lead of 8+ weeks? Mark and Adam, I feel like that's a good one for you to tag team.
Yeah, we can do that. So a lot of the other manufacturers, they'll make a great product for a top, or they'll make a product for a slide out, or for the ladder rack. And there's always different lead times associated with each of those products. And when you're trying to schedule an install of a vehicle that has 3 different lead times, that becomes very, very challenging and very costly to that distributor. And so what we've done is we try to bring everything in-house. Now we produce a topper. We've already produced the ladder racks in the past. And now we own extendo bed. So we have all 3 of those components in-house under one roof, and it's a one-stop shop, one lead time. You get that, you order your product, it ships out in 5 days, all at one time. It takes a lot of the pain away from the distributors and the frustration of the customer. It's like, when am I going to get my vehicle? All that's gone. Just makes things so much easier.
Yeah, that makes sense. So really, I mean, you guys aren't doing the shuffle of multiple manufacturers. You're doing that all in-house, one-stop shop.
Yes.
That's great. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. And let's see here. So what does a complete pickup truck upfit package include? Adam, you want to walk through that maybe?
Yeah.
Adam?
Yeah. It's sort of a trick question, because you could always say, oh man, it's going to have, a top ladder rack, shelving, extendo bed in it. That that's the best thing in the world. But it's really, what does the technician need? That's what it is. If they just needed a top with an extendo bed, that's perfectly fine. That if that's what gets the job done. That we hammer home that the technician is our number one customer. They're the ones that are using the vehicle, driving the vehicle. They need to make it work, and that's what we're there for, is to make their truck work for them.
And so what I hear is, especially if you're new to a pickup truck, you don't have to know exactly what you need when you're ordering. You guys help your customers kind of walk through what are the best options for you. You also have options to add on later if they're not sure in that moment. Is that right? I mean, it seems like you are kind of a guide through this process.
Yeah, and that's through the ship through model, which my team kind of runs that model, or our distributors. Our distributors are all trained. They know how to set the vehicles up right for the technicians, for those local fleets. That's what our distributors touch.
Perfect. Okay, well, that does it for today's webinar. Just want to thank all of you, Mark, Ryan, Adam, for joining us today and sharing so many insights. And I just love that you have solutions for all of these common challenges. It seems like it takes a lot of the pain out of the process and really can help fleets be more productive and more profitable. And that's what everybody wants, right? I want to also thank everyone who submitted questions. Again, if your question wasn't answered, we'll be following up with you individually via email with the response. And really just hope that you enjoyed today's webinar. Thank you again, Adam, Mark, Ryan, and Adrian Steele for today's presentation. And in case you missed part of it or want to share it, the webinar will be available on demand on the Work Truck website at worktruck.com/webinars. So on behalf of the entire team here at Bobbit and Work Truck, I want to thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again for another Work Truck webinar. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.